I hope everyone able to see my screen. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to EAZ Academy. So myself, Muhammad Ali. Okay. So before going to the class, let me introduce about myself. So I have around 15 years of experience in IT infra support. I certified in Microsoft Azure, Nutanix, and Microsoft certified trainer. So I mainly expertise in server administration in Azure, VMware, Nutanix, Hyper-V mixed environments. And my second skill sets like managing backups and Office 365 administration and application hosting. Okay. So what are the courses offered by EAZ Academy? Okay, so we provide Azure, AWS, fundamental and administrator course, and same AWS, and virtualization course like Nutanix, VMware, Linux. And we also provide the bundle the course like Azure, AWS, Linux, concept, and server administration. It's a bundle the course. Okay, so Microsoft other courses like Microsoft 365 and Intune administrator, Azure SQL, Azure AI, and Copilot. Okay. So this course about Microsoft 365 and Intune Administrator. Okay. So Saqib is the trainer who will take forward. Yes, Saqib. So you can introduce about yourself and you can start share your screen for the course. Yeah.
Thank you, Mohammed. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Saqib, and I'll be taking your Microsoft 365 and Intune course. So let me quickly share my screen. I have a PPT prepared for you guys, and we'll go with that. Okay, let me share. So are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
So guys, like Mohammed said, this is the Microsoft 365 administration course. So idea is to complete this course within the 30 days and to get you hands-on implementation on Microsoft 365. So this course would be mostly tailored on practical things, and we will cover all the services that are included within Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365, as you will see in the course, is a very entry level as far as Microsoft Cloud is concerned. This would give you an entry to the Microsoft ecosystem through Microsoft 365. We will be mostly dealing with their email services and their other collaboration services like SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams as well. So this will be all tailored towards the enterprise setting, wherein we would get an hands-on and we can mirror how this technology is being used at the enterprise level within the different organizations. Okay, so this course we have designed keeping in mind that this should be tailored towards the IT professionals or who are just starting their journey as a system admin and want to get more exposure to cloud technologies later on. And we can also say that this is tailored towards newly IT professionals who want to, get some hands-on experience in cloud-based technologies. So it is basically a SaaS product, which we will cover on later during this course. So this entire will be a SaaS-based product. So before we get into the details of the course, just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Sakib Vani, and I have been working with Microsoft Technologies for over 5 years now. I have experience at enterprise level in Microsoft 365, in Azure services, and also I have experience in system administration with Windows and Linux servers. You can always get in touch with me on LinkedIn through email, or I also post regularly on my personal blog, Bytes and Clouds. So you can always follow me there as well to see, what new is trending on, what new features are getting added to services like Microsoft 365 or Azure. So I keep updating those blogs from time to time. Currently, there's also an AWS series that I'm prepping for my blog. So if you would stay connected to that blog, you would get a lot of hands-on material and you can learn a lot of things through that. So prior to that, and let's give you a quick course overview. So like I mentioned, the duration, we are planning to, complete this for within 30 days. It's not a hard, fast rule that we have to complete it within 30 days as such. We can always extend it, and depending upon the time it would take us to complete the labs. So most of the format that is created for this course is going to be hands-on. And like I mentioned, so I have experience also by delivering on-job trainings, OJTs. So I have delivered OJTs for enterprises like ShareWeb and also for Concentrix as well. So I am going to give you precisely what is needed for you in this domain to get a job, to get hired, or to excel in your current expertise related to the Microsoft 365. So the idea is behind this course is that once you finish this course, you should at least be able to showcase your experience from mid-senior level to expert level. So that's how the course is designed. It is designed from end-to-end services within Microsoft 365 and plus also within the Intune administration as well. So like the format we discussed, it's going to be 60% practical hands-on experience and 40% theoretical foundation, which would include the concepts. When we receive some concepts like we will going to study about the principle of least privilege. We are going to study about zero trust architecture. And first, we are going to define those principles. What is the use of those principles? How those principles are being used within the enterprise setting. So entire focus will be towards the enterprise setting, how this is set up at the enterprise level. That would give you a good hold on the grasp and even will help you prepare for the interviews as well. And after that, we will, demonstrate those theoretical knowledge with hands-on experience. So like I said, so first week we have defined for fundamental and identity. So within the first week, we'll go through what are the basic fundamentals of Microsoft 365. Sorry, does anybody have any questions?
Amount 3,000.
Pratik, do you have any questions? I see your hand is raised. There's a voice coming from, I think, Isaac. Isaac, could you please mute yourself if there are no questions? Thank you. Pratik, do you have any questions? I see your hand is up.
No, it's fine.
I think he's mistakenly he raised.
Okay.
Since in the beginning I
No
said.
problem.
Yeah, it's mistakenly.
Okay, no problem. Let me go back to Presentation. Yeah, perfect. So like I was saying that week one would be entirely for fundamentals, and within the fundamentals, the first thing we are going to cover is identity. And when we go through it, we will find that identity is the core concept within Microsoft 365, which helps us to provide accesses, manage accesses within Microsoft 365, how to provide, resource access to the end users, how to build our Microsoft 365 from scratch for an organization, and identity is a core part within all that setup. And also on top of that, we are going to go through the list of the services within the Microsoft 365 during the first week. And also we are going to study about what are the different license models, what are different Microsoft 365 plans, and what is the service architecture. So we are going to basically see, when I am going to set up from scratch Microsoft 365, which service or which license is which I am going to choose for my need, because the need can be different for a 200 to 300 employee company. It can be different for an enterprise company which hosts more than 500 employees, or even if you are a small, medium to scale size MSP up to 200 employees. So their need is going to be different. And accordingly, we are going to discuss what are the different license plans for these different types of needs and requirements, and how we are going to use our knowledge to recommend the better version of license, better version of Microsoft 365 for those companies. And we are going to basically work as a consultant here, Microsoft 365 consultant, and help our customers to recognize the better service for their requirement. And then after that, once we have the basic setup ready, we are going to go through Admin Center, which is the most fundamental part of Microsoft 365 services, where you are going to spend most of your time as an administrator. What are the different settings available for an administrator? What are the different features available? How you are going to recommend those features to your customer, to your client, how you are going to implement those features for your Microsoft 365 tenant, and what are the methods, controls that you are going to put in place to
sorry to
manage
interrupt. I think
yeah.
Akib, I'm audible.
Yes,
Lakshmi
yes,
raised the right hand. There any question,
hi,
Lakshmi? I see you are.
Yeah, yeah, Shakib. Yeah, I had a question actually.
Sure.
While before we had an introduction about M365, for a domain registration, like this also we are including in this course. Like if we have been purchasing a new domain, how we are getting into that, like how we are adding those things also we are including in this course.
So domain purchase. So when we create a new tenant, okay, so Microsoft by default gives us its own domain, which is a .on Microsoft.com domain. So
No, no, no.
primarily we are going to work with .on Microsoft.com domain. But if you want to add a custom domain to your tenant, like any particular domain, .com, .in, .xyz, then that by default is not part of this course. But we can work on that later if you want to continue into it. I can guide you to purchase that custom domain. But by default, we will not be providing custom domains. If you already have purchased a custom domain with you, then we can guide you to add that custom domain with your Microsoft 365 tenant, but
Okay,
not
okay,
purchase it.
okay. Now I understood. Actually,
Yeah.
presently I was working in 365 only. So
Mhm.
but as in 365, but I was working as a level one. So I had an
Okay.
access to all things like I'll be able to access full admin center like Intune. uh, and the Teams admin center and the Exchange,
I
everything I
uh-huh.
can able to access. But but some restriction is out there. While like B2B tenant, so conditional access like that, I had a restriction.
Correct. Correct. So that is not probably due to the domain, but that could be due to the license, depending upon what type of Entra ID license you have, because conditional access is part of Entra ID, not Microsoft
Okay.
365 specifically. We are also going to
Okay.
cover that concept as well, but that comes under Entra ID. So if you see
Okay.
different type of domains here, just quickly I want to show you. You see Microsoft Purview, and here it is the identity, correct? So under
Yeah,
this,
I can
all
able
the
to see that.
concepts, yeah, under this, all these concepts of SSPR, MFA, and conditional accesses. And for those conditional access, we need P2 license. P2,
Yeah, yeah. Like
correct?
I'm already aware of that. Like cycle. Like what I
Correct.
mentioned means like if we my first question is if I had a new domain, like I'll be purchasing some one new domain from a GoDaddy means. So after that we are getting that domain into an into our exchange. So after that we are creating a
Correct.
mailbox. So that and all I
Correct.
asked first question, and the second one what I told you means like I was already working in this domain, but I was working as a
Mhm.
level one.
Correct.
So that's what I am telling
Correct.
you.
Yeah. So by default, we will not be providing domains. You would have to purchase a
Okay,
domain in order to add that to your tenant. Yeah.
okay, Sajib. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. Perfect. All right. And then let's come back to the first week fundamentals. And then the third day, like I said, identity models, which is a very important subject. We'll be going through different types of identities and how those are implemented within Microsoft 365. And then finally, we'll go through user and group management, how to create users, assign licenses, what different types of licenses are there, how to configure Entra ID, like we discussed, and what are the different types of those roles. And then in week second, we are going to cover Exchange and collaboration. Exchange is basically an email server. So you might have probably seen whenever you would have joined any organization that they are using Outlook, right? Correct. So at the back end, the Outlook email flow is managed by an email server, which is called Exchange. So initially what used to happen is the entire server setup was on premises. On premises means that the company would purchase physical hardwares of the server and then have the entire have the IT team to configure for email receiving and send, and that would be placed in a server room. But this Microsoft 365 comes with Exchange Online. Exchange Online, it is an cloud-based SaaS product of the same exchange which was used by the companies prior in the on-premises setting. So what happens now that Microsoft is offering it as a subscription base, so that when a new company comes in and they don't have to purchase all that local hardware and they don't need a separate IT team to manage that stuff. They can manage it through their online subscription called Exchange Online, which is also part of Microsoft 365. So in Exchange Online, we are going to understand how to develop mail flow architecture, how it relates to the enterprise setting, and how the end users are getting and receiving, sending these emails, what are the different types of accepted domains and connectors within it, how to configure it, and what are the different management policies, what could be the default size of mailbox, how, what could be the retention policies, how different email sizes are we going to configure, what attachments are we going to allow for this, and all of this is going to be understood under mailbox management policies. And some other collaboration tools are, of course, SharePoint. It is a collaboration tool where we can host our files, documents, and share it with other users within the employees, and also can share it outside of our company with other companies in business to business settings. So, and also OneDrive syncing and sharing, and all these setups we are going to do through the labs, demo labs, and we are going to perform different troubleshooting scenarios. So basically we will have a scenario like when we are working as an admin, we might get a ticket that one of the end user is not able to use OneDrive, or he is not able to access a particular SharePoint site or particular file on a SharePoint. So we will go through these different processes, how we are going to troubleshoot this, how we are going to understand the customer problem, and what are the different ways to narrow down the issue so that we can pinpoint exactly what the issue is and how finally we are going to resolve it. So all this scenario-based troubleshooting we are going to cover in coming weeks regarding these topics. And also one of the important topics in the week 3 is related to the security and compliance. So within Microsoft 365, we have sub portals and different admin layers. And one of the sub portal is security and compliance. Here we are going to understand about Microsoft Purview. Microsoft Purview is one of the sub portal within Microsoft 365, which gives us an overview about our security and compliance posture. So we have different compliances in IT, like IS 27001. We have HIPAA compliance, and we have GPR for EU countries. So depending upon the nature of the work our company is going to do, we would have to follow those compliance policies to be in sync with the law. So that is where we can use the Microsoft Purview to develop those compliance policies, to develop alerts whether the data within the Microsoft 365 for our company is following or is compliant or not, and all of those, and how to protect the data as well in terms of what are the different features which we can implement within our tenant to help protect data. Like we have here data loss prevention, right? How we can set up and how we can test those policies. Like one of the most commonly used DLP, which is data loss prevention, is the prevention of spread of information of credit cards. So every time if you mention, and when we have this policy in place, let's suppose an end user is trying to send an email which has a credit card information, so it is automatically going to block that email, and user would get an information that this email or this activity is blocked because of data loss prevention policy. You cannot share this kind of information, whether it's account number, whether it is credit card number, right? So we can work on those and we can test those policies in week 3 as well. And we have information governance. It's like a retention policy. It's one of the important feature. So let us suppose if we have a huge data which has been collected over the number of years. So I am an employee with the organization that is using Microsoft 365 or Exchange for last 10 years. So I would have all the emails within my Outlook for last 10 years, right? So how do I retain that data and in such a way that it does not bulk up my Outlook, it does not cause issues, it does not give me some navigation issues within the Outlook, and how to set up all that set will go through information governance in the 3rd week. And also compliance score management. So it is a dashboard within the Microsoft 365 which will help us give a score related to, it's a probable score related to the other tenants of our size. It is generated by Microsoft itself and gives a score like 30%, 40%, 50%. So this it helps us to overview the security posture of our tenant, and it also gives recommendation to apply this policy, that policy, to enhance that score so that our tenant can be more secure. And also finally, identity protection. Like we discussed, conditional access policies, sign-in policies, risk user policies, right? All of that setup we are going to include within identity protection, and how to implement, what are the license requirements, and then what would be the end user effect once this is implemented at the administrator level. All right, and that were from week 4, we will move into device management, which is the Intune. Intune is nothing but a solution by Microsoft through which we can manage our endpoints being devices. It's an endpoint manager, so we can how to enroll Windows devices, iOS devices, Android devices, how to apply compliance policies. So you might have seen, like when we have an office laptop, and if it's managed in Intune, there are certain sites that are blocked. There are certain apps that are blocked, right? So how to keep that those compliances running through Intune, we are going to see that. How to implement a conditional accesses on the devices so that we can manage and control these devices. This we are going to go through in week 4. And some additional administration skills we are also planning to go through this course. It is mostly important to monitoring and reporting. So this would give us an idea how to set up alerts, how to set up audits, and how to use the analytics within the Microsoft 365 or Entra ID, so that we can make sure that our entire security posture is correct and up to date, and there are no loopholes within our security. And if any alert comes up, like we have an alert like sign-in is compromised, or this user's sign-in seems to be risky, how we can then remediate those alerts. What are the steps that we'll be taking? We will consider all those things within this course, and we will also go through the different scenarios which we will develop ourselves that are commonly applicable in the enterprise setting, and what are the troubleshooting steps, troubleshooting method that we need to follow to prevent those exposures. Right, and we can also go through some PowerShell commands, even though we will not be going at a deeper level for this course in PowerShell, but we will definitely see how we can integrate PowerShell within Microsoft 365, what are the different modules that are available within Microsoft 365, and how to make sure that we know how to use those different commandlets and bind them together to improve our proficiency in Microsoft 365. So PowerShell, if you have a PowerShell on your resume, so you can automatically convert your skill set from administration to an engineer level. So that is all we are going to go through this. And there's also delegation and self-service. These are SSPR services. As an admin, how you are going to delegate your access in such a way, configure your access such a way that the user would be empowered to do certain tasks by themselves, like they would be able to register for MFA, they would be able to reset their password without reaching out to admin support every time. Okay, all that we are going to discuss within this. And like I mentioned, this distribution is going to be 60% practical, hands-on, and 40% theoretical, with the principles like principle of zero trust architecture, principle of least privilege access, what is the privileged identity management. So those are we are going to cover in detail, and then we are going to build on those to make sure that we have the hands-on experience as well. This is the final week. We are going to do some specific exercises for the last week, which would include like backup and recovery, how to manage backup, what are the different types of backups that we can configure, what are the different features, and what would be different recovery strategies that we are going to use, what are the different troubleshooting steps that need to be followed in such a way that the user data remains secure and we do not lose that data. And some other licensing, we are going to also go through what are the different licenses included within it, what are some advanced licensing and how do they differ, and how do they enhance the entire Microsoft system, which we can use on top of our Microsoft 365 license. So this entire is an ecosystem, right? It's an all end-to-end cloud-based. So if you know Microsoft 365 end-to-end, you have covered multiple bases. So you would be covering IAM, Identity and Access Management, through Entra ID. You would be covering the entire Microsoft 365, which is a SaaS product that would give you an introduction, or that would open your gates to different job roles for you, for security administrator and IAM admin, Azure-based, and also Microsoft 365 cloud engineer roles, cloud admin roles, and also Intune. The Intune is very much in demand. There are lots of jobs within Intune as well. The device management, device engineer, endpoint management, endpoint engineer, all those job roles you can apply for after the going through this course at the end.